Hello, my Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. Welcome. This is your August 2026 forecast. If you feel called to watch this, but you don't have any Aries placements, you're still more than welcome to stay. There may be a message in here that you're meant to hear. I'm going to start with a very quick overview of what is happening astrologically for Aries throughout August, and then we'll move into the tarot questions to see how these energies may be affecting you personally. As always, this is a collective reading, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Let's get into it. Before we get into the tarot, I just want to give you a really quick overview of what is happening astrologically for Aries throughout August. This month really feels like a combination of rediscovering your spark while also questioning who you are becoming. Saturn and Neptune are both retrograde in Aries, so some of you may feel like you're being slowed down or pushed to reconsider your identity, your direction, and the responsibilities you've taken on. You may be realizing that certain expectations, roles, or versions of yourselves no longer fit. At the same time, Jupiter is moving through Leo, and there's a solar eclipse in Leo around the middle of August. This is activating your creativity, confidence, romance, joy, and self-expression. Something may be opening that encourages you to be seen. Take a chance on yourself or reconnect with something that genuinely excites you. Relationships may also become more important this month. With Venus moving through Libra, there could be opportunities for love, reconciliation, support, or collaboration, but you may also be asked to see a relationship more realistically and decide whether it's genuinely balanced. Toward the end of August, the Pisces lunar eclipse may bring up something that's been happening underneath the surface. This could be emotional exhaustion, an old pattern, a hidden fear, or something you've been carrying privately that you're finally ready to release. So the overall theme for Aries this month feels like your spark's coming back, but you cannot take every part of your old life or your old identity into this next chapter. So let's get onto the cards. Our first question is, what energy is Aries entering August with? Alright, Aries. So what energy is Aries entering August with? You're entering August with the Ten of Cups, the Queen of Wands, the Four of Swords, and the Knight of Swords. Starting with the Ten of Cups, there's a strong focus here on emotional fulfillment, happiness, and what you actually want your life to look like. Some of you may be thinking more seriously about your future, your relationships, your family, or the kind of emotional security you want to build. It feels like you're becoming much clearer on what happiness means to you, rather than simply accepting what other people have told you should make you happy. There may also be something in your life that's already giving you a sense of gratitude or emotional contentment. Even if everything's not perfect, you may be recognizing what is genuinely valuable to you. Then we move on to the Queen of Wands. This is such strong fire energy, and for Aries, it feels like your confidence is beginning to return. You may be feeling more creative, more expressive, or more ready to take up space again. There's something quite magnetic about this energy as well. People may be noticing you more throughout August, or you may simply feel more comfortable being yourself without constantly worrying about how you are being perceived. But then we have the Four of Swords. So although your spark is returning, part of you still needs rest. Some of you may have been mentally exhausted, emotionally drained, or simply carrying too much for too long. This card is saying that you do not have to force yourself into action the moment you begin feeling better. There may be a short period at the beginning of August where you're still reflecting, recovering, or deciding what your next move should be. And then the Knight of Swords comes in. This is where the energy begins moving very quickly. After a period of stillness, something may happen that pushes you into action. This could be a conversation, a decision, unexpected news, or simply a moment where you suddenly know what you need to do. It feels like you're going from thinking about the life you want to actively moving towards it. The only warning with the Knight of Swords is not to rush simply because you're tired of waiting. There's a difference between acting from clarity and acting from frustration. So overall, Aries, you're entering August with a much clearer vision of what you want emotionally, and your confidence is beginning to turn, but there is still a need to rest, think, and make sure that when you do move forward, You're moving towards something that genuinely aligns with you. It feels like the month may begin quietly, but it does not stay quiet for long. So let's move on to what's the part of yourself or your identity that you're being asked to reconsider. Okay, Aries, for this we have the Prince of Wands, the Tower, and the Empress. Starting with our Prince of Wands, this feels like the part of you that is always ready to move. Chase the next idea, or throw yourself into something the moment you feel inspired. This is very natural Aries energy, okay? You're passionate, driven, and you're usually willing to take risks. But sometimes this energy can burn very brightly and then disappear just as quickly. So throughout August, you may be reconsidering whether every strong feeling needs an immediate reaction. You may also be looking at the version of yourself that feels like you always have to keep moving, proving something, or searching for the next challenge. Then we have the Tower. Something about that identity is being broken down. This does not necessarily mean that everything around you is falling apart. It can be an internal realization where you suddenly see that the way you have been operating is no longer sustainable. You may realize that constantly pushing forward, acting quickly, or trying to maintain control has actually been keeping you disconnected from what you truly need. There may also be a situation this month that challenges the way you see yourself. Something could change unexpectedly, or a truth could come through that makes it impossible to continue pretending that an old version of you still fits. Then we have the Empress. This is what you're being asked to move towards instead. The Empress does not chase. She does not force. She creates, receives, and allows things to grow at the right pace. So Aries, you may be learning that your power is not only found in action, it's also found in patience, self-worth, creativity, and knowing that you do not have to exhaust yourself to prove that you deserve something. For some of you, this could be about becoming more comfortable receiving the support, attention, love, or abundance rather than always being the person who initiates everything. It may also be about reconnecting with your body, your creativity, or your softer side. The Tower between these two cards feels like a major identity shift. You're moving away from a version of yourself that acts first and processes later, and into someone who is much more intentional about where their energy goes. That does not mean losing your fire. It means learning how to direct it towards something that can actually grow. So the question becomes, are you chasing something because it's right for you, or simply because standing still makes you uncomfortable? The next question we're looking at is, what is the Leo solar eclipse beginning for Aries? Starting with the Ace of Cups. This eclipse appears to be opening a completely new emotional chapter. This could be connected to love, creativity, healing, or simply feeling emotionally connected to your life again. There may be something coming in that reminds you what it feels like to be genuinely excited, inspired, or open-hearted. For some of you, this could absolutely be a new romantic connection or a shift within an existing relationship. But because Leo also connects with creativity, confidence, and self-expression, this could just as easily be a new creative path, a passion project, or something that allows you to express yourself more authentically. It feels like your heart's trying to open again. With the Eight of Wands, this tells me that whatever begins around this eclipse may develop quite quickly. There could be sudden communication, an unexpected invitation, fast-moving romantic energy, or a creative idea that seems to arrive all at once. Some of you may feel like things have been quiet or stagnant for a while, and then suddenly the energy begins moving again. This card can also show messages, news, or opportunities coming through. So there may be something around the middle of August that gets your attention and pushes you to respond quickly. However, the Eight of Wands can move so quickly that it becomes easy to get swept up in the excitement. So while this feels positive, you may still need to give yourself enough space to understand what this new opportunity actually means for you. Then we have the Nine of Wands. This shows that you're more prepared for this new chapter than you may realize. You have already been through experiences that have strengthened you, taught you boundaries, and shown you what you're no longer willing to accept. There may still be some hesitation here, especially if something develops faster than you expected. But this card is reminding you that you're not entering this as the same person you were in the past. You have more resilience, more awareness, and more control over where your energy goes now. The Nine of Wands can also show that this new beginning may require consistency. It may arrive quickly, but that does not mean it will grow without effort. You may need to protect what is beginning, stay grounded, and avoid abandoning it the moment the initial excitement settles down. So overall, the Leo solar eclipse appears to be bringing a new emotional, romantic, or creative beginning that could develop very quickly. There may be communication, movement, or an unexpected opportunity, but you're being asked to meet it with both openness and strength. This feels like something that could really reignite your passion, but it will be important not to rush ahead so quickly that you lose sight of what you actually want. The next question is, what is happening in love and relationships during August for Aries? Okay, this feels like a much more grounded relationship energy than something fleeting or purely based on attraction. The Queen of Discs is secure, practical, and very aware of her own value. So throughout August, I feel like you're becoming much clearer about what you need from another person in order to feel safe, supported, and emotionally settled. You may be less interested in chasing someone, decoding mixed signals, or trying to convince another person of your worth. There is a stronger energy here of asking, does this person genuinely add something to my life? Is this connection stable? Can I actually trust what is being offered? For some of you, this may also represent another person coming towards you who carries this energy. They could be grounded, nurturing, or financially established, or simply someone who makes you feel that you do not have to question where you stand. Then we move on to the Ten of Discs. This can actually point towards long-term potential, commitment, and building something that has a real substance behind it. For those already in relationships, conversations may begin turning towards the future, living arrangements, finances, family, or what the two of you are realistically creating together. For single Aries, this may show that you're attracting connections differently now. You may be less drawn towards intense but unstable chemistry and more interested in someone who can actually be consistent. I'm proud of you. There's also a strong theme here of recognizing that love should contribute to your sense of security rather than constantly disrupting it. And then we have the Magus. Communication is going to be incredibly important throughout August. There may be an important conversation, a message coming through, or someone may becoming much more direct about what they want. The Magus can also show someone knowing exactly what to say though, so this is where you need to pay attention to whether their actions support their words. This card is powerful when communication is honest and intentional, but in its shadow, it can also be charming, persuasive, or slightly manipulative. So do not simply listen to what someone promises you. Look at what they are consistently creating with you. For some of you, the Magus is actually your energy. You may be deciding that instead of waiting for another person to define the relationship, you're going to clearly communicate what you want and what you are no longer willing to accept. Overall, love in August feels like it has the potential to become much more stable, mature, and future-focused. There could be a meaningful conversation or someone expressing serious intentions, but the message is to make sure that the words are backed by something tangible. You're not looking for potential alone anymore. You're looking for something that can actually be built. So now we're moving on to what challenge or warning does Aries need to be aware of during August. Also, let me know if you prefer seeing the cards shuffled on screen. In this video, I've been cutting it out, but now I'm second guessing myself. Alright. Interestingly, both of these cards also appeared in the first part of your reading. So this is clearly an important theme for you throughout August. The Four of Swords suggests that your challenge may be knowing when to pause and when to move. Some of you may be mentally exhausted, but instead of properly allowing yourself to rest, You may only stop temporarily before throwing yourself straight back into the next problem. But the Four of Swords can also represent avoiding conflict in order to keep the peace. You may be staying quiet about something because you do not want to create tension, but underneath that silence, your thoughts may still be racing. Then we have the Knight of Swords. This is extremely fast, direct, and mentally intense energy. So the warning is that something you've been quietly thinking about could suddenly come out all at once. You may go from saying nothing to saying everything, or from feeling uncertain to making a very quick decision without giving yourself enough time to consider the consequences. This could also represent another person coming towards you with intense communication, strong opinions, or an urgent demand for an answer. You do not have to match their urgency. Not every message requires an immediate response, and not every disagreement needs to be resolved in the heat of the moment. Now, the Four of Swords and the Knight of Swords together are asking you to avoid swinging between complete withdrawal and impulsive action. Give yourself enough time to think, but do not use rest as a way of avoiding something that genuinely needs to be addressed. When you do speak or act, make sure it's coming from clarity rather than exhaustion, frustration, or the need to end the discomfort as quickly as possible. Your biggest challenge in August may not be a lack of movement. It may be managing the speed of that movement once things begin happening. Now, the next question we have is, what is the Pisces lunar eclipse asking Aries to release? Starting with the Five of Swords, which in this deck is defeat. There may be an old situation you're still carrying as evidence that something will not work out for you. This could be a past conflict, rejection, disappointment, or experience where you felt like you lost. Even if the situation itself is over, the mindset created by it may still be influencing the way you approach new opportunities. You may be expecting another person to disappoint you, assume that things will fall apart, or mentally preparing yourself for the worst before anything has even happened. This eclipse is asking you to release the belief that what happened before has to happen again. I feel like that's such a strong, powerful message. And then we have the universe. This is a completion. There's a cycle here that has reached its natural ending, but some of you may still be emotionally or mentally attached to it. You may be waiting for closure from another person, replaying how something could have gone differently, or feeling like you cannot move forward until you completely understand why it happened. But the universe suggests that you may already have all the closure you're going to receive. The lesson's been learned. The chapter has ended. Now it's about deciding whether you're willing to stop reopening it. Then we have the Hierophant. This feels like releasing an old belief system or expectation about who you're supposed to be. Some of you may have been following a path because it was considered sensible, acceptable, or expected of you, rather than because it was genuinely aligned with what you wanted. This may relate to relationships, family, spirituality, career, or even the way you believe life is supposed to unfold. There could also be a belief that you need another person's approval, guidance, or permission before you can trust your own decisions. The Hierophant is not necessarily asking you to reject all structure or tradition. It's asking you to question whether the beliefs you're living by are actually yours. And with the universe beside it, it feels like you're completing a major lesson around external authority, expectations, or trying to fit yourself into a life that no longer feels right. So this Pisces lunar eclipse may bring a very private but powerful release. You're letting go of an old defeat, closing the cycle it created, and freeing yourself from the belief that your past has the authority to decide what happens next. But because we have two major arcana cards here in this spread for this question, this feels significant. It may not be something you completely process overnight, but August could mark the point where you finally decide that you're no longer carrying it forward. The next question, we're almost at the end, bear with me. Where is Aries likely to see the most movement or opportunity during August? Okay, so starting with the Fool, this is a completely new beginning. There may be an opportunity coming through that feels unfamiliar, unexpected, or slightly outside of your comfort zone. You may not have every detail worked out yet, but there is something here that's asking you to take a chance on yourself. This could be a new relationship, a creative project, a move, a new direction in work, or simply a decision to live your life differently. The Fool does not necessarily know exactly where the path is going, but they know they cannot remain where they are. Then we have the Aeon. The Aeon? The Aeon. I can never pronounce that. This feels like an awakening or a major turning point. Something may become very clear to you throughout August, and once you see it, you may not be able to return to the way you were thinking or living before. The Aeon can show a moment of realization where you understand that an old version of yourself, or even an old chapter of your life, has served its purpose. This is not just about starting something new for the sake of change. It feels like you're responding to a much deeper calling. You may feel pulled towards something that is more aligned with who you are becoming, even if it requires you to leave behind what once felt familiar. And then we have the Four of Wands, which is completion in this deck. This tells me that this new beginning has the potential to create something solid for you. There may be a milestone, a celebration, or sense of finally reaching a place where you can recognize how far you've come. For some of you, this could be connected to the home, family, a relationship becoming more established, or a project reaching an important stage. It can also show finding a stronger sense of belonging. So although the Fool begins with uncertainty, the Four of Wands shows that this is not necessarily reckless or directionless. There's real potential for stability and fulfillment here. The Fool and the Aeon are both major arcana cards, so this opportunity may feel much bigger than an ordinary change. It may represent a completely new phase of your life where you're no longer making choices based on who you used to be. Your greatest movement in August appears to come from saying yes to a new path, trusting the realization that has already taken place, and allowing yourself to build something different. You may not know exactly where it leads at first, but it feels like it's taking you towards greater freedom, alignment, and stability. And that brings us to our final question. Yay! What is the overall advice for Aries throughout August? And with this one comes an oracle card. The card you got is Malachite, Birthing Gateway, A Time to Create. This card brings the energy of change and creation. It can appear when you're beginning a new project, relationship, or endeavor, or when something you have been calling forward is finally ready to start taking form. And this really confirms everything we've already seen throughout your reading. There's a major new chapter trying to open for you in August. We saw that emotional beginning with the Ace of Cups, the fast movement of the Eight of Wands, and then the Fool and the Aeon showing that you're stepping into a completely different phase of your life. But the word birthing is important here, because when something is being created, it does not always arrive fully formed. You may receive the idea, the opportunity, the conversation, or the initial opening throughout August, but you will still need to give it time and energy to develop. So do not miss something simply because you cannot immediately see where it is going. At the same time, you do not need to force it. The Empress came through earlier in your reading, and she also carries that energy of creation, growth, and allowing something to develop naturally. Your advice is to create from a place of genuine desire rather than pressure. Create the opening, begin the project, have the conversation, allow yourself to explore the connection. Take the first step towards the life you've been imagining. Something new is trying to be born through you this month, Aries, but you have to give yourself permission to begin. Alright, Aries, that is everything I am seeing for you for August 2026. This feels like a really significant month of closing an old chapter, reconnecting your confidence, and beginning something that has the potential to become much more stable and fulfilling over time. Let me know in the comments what part of the reading resonated with you. And you can also watch your sun, moon, and rising signs for a fuller picture of your month ahead. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next reading.